Welcome back to the Quarantine Cricket Championship. I'm Brian Jackson, and this is day one of the third Ashes test between England and Australia. Just got some news with the teams. England will be making two changes. Joe Denley comes in for the out of form and bad Jason Roy, and Jack Leach comes in for Jofra Archer, who barely got a bowl and has taken one wicket in the first two tests. So I'll just bring your attention to the playing conditions. It's going to be raining for most of day one, overcast on day 4 and 5, and the pitch, well, it looks like there's something in it for the spinners. That's why Leach is coming in, and England will be playing with two spinners. Not a big deal since they also have four quicks in there. And on the Australian side, James Pattinson comes in for Mitchell Starc, just because I think he's more suited to these conditions. So we'll now go to the toss. Heads is the call. Australia have lost the toss and will be put into bat. So England obviously thinking that these conditions warrant warrant bowling first, which you don't normally see in Test cricket. As Stuart Broad gets us underway. The series, of course, still poised at 0-0 after two draws. Not the ideal start to the series, but both teams, I think, they'll be satisfied with the way their batsmen have gone about it, but their bowling attacks just haven't quite been up to the standard expected. So, in some ways, the big question will be which bowling unit is the first to really stamp their authority on this series. England will have the first opportunity as the first over is wrapped up, just the single from it. So Warner getting off the mark. And it is Jimmy Anderson to Dave Warner, going around the wicket straight away. Probably a good move from the English skipper. It's where Warner has looked at most risk as he gets through for another single. And check out this field for Joey Burns. 3 slips, short leg. And hold on, this is interesting. Sam Curran is into the attack already. 1 over for Stuart Broad. He can't have been injured, could he? I don't know if that's possible for the fielding side in cricket captain. Maybe this is just Joe Root playing tricks on us. I've never seen this before. Very interesting approach. Will it pay off? Joe Burns yet to get off the mark, off the goose egg, you could say. As Australia, 3 for no loss. Anderson to Warner again. Now, I am expecting there to be several rain delays on day one, so I'm not too concerned about the run rate that Australia is batting at. It's more about just surviving the day with as many wickets intact as possible, and then going again on day 2 when the conditions look slightly better. Since this pitch does seem to be turning a bit, that should probably increase throughout the match. So I'm hoping that if Australia can survive this first day, batting first will actually be a huge advantage if the track gets significantly better for the spinners. Nathan Lyon can exploit that on day 4. As Burns top edges one, this should be out. Yes, it is. Wow, the Centurion in the second test can't get going. He's out for a 9-ball duck. And that brings Marnus Labuschagne to the crease very early on. And the game will be about survival for him. Some of you may be wondering why I've kept Labuschagne in the team despite his just really terrible start to the series. No other way to look at it. And the reason is because I'm a big fan of the idea that you get your 11 best players out there on the field. And Marnus Labuschagne is certainly one of Australia's best 11. So the quick bowling change to Sam Curran pays off for the English. They've got an early breakthrough. And it looks right now, very early days of course, but I reckon Joe Root will be very happy with his decision to bowl first. It's also worth noting that the outfield is really slow, so boundaries are going to be difficult to come by. And it looks as if the cricket captain gods have decided that enough is enough with these draws on really good batting wickets in the first two tests, and they've decided, you know what, if the bowlers aren't going to take their opportunities themselves, we'll have to give them a pitch that's well suited to them and conditions where it's hard to score. So, provided we don't lose too much of the game due to rain delays, I reckon it's a safe bet that we get a result in this match. Two from the over, it's 6 for 1. Jimmy Anderson has bowled all right in this series, but in the second test especially, he just didn't look as threatening as you'd expect. He's been used so much by England that you'd have to think he's getting a bit tired out there, the old timer. But the fact is, you always back him to take wickets in England. Just the no ball from that over. Australia creeping along, still very much in survival mode, which is really what I've been hoping for. Oh, and Marnus gets a nice full toss to get away. That'll help his confidence a bit. Oh, gee, I spoke too soon. What was he trying to do there? It's wide outside off, and he looks like he was going to step across and try and play it through the onside. That's the shot of a man in terrible form. Gets through the over, 12 for 1. Oh, as Anderson beats the bat of Warner. Gee, troubling signs for the Australians so far. After some really strong batting performances in the first two tests, a couple of centuries for Steve Smith, century and a 90 for Matthew Wade, as Bairstow. He hasn't had the best series behind the stumps. He lets that one through for 4 byes. And he runs, even at this stage. So 6 from that over. It's 18 for 1. Curran continuing into his 5th over. So really, there would be no better time for Marnus Labuschagne to step up and prove that he belongs in this side. Tough conditions, Burns out early. Curran and Anderson bowling pretty well. Time to show what he's capable of. As Curran going around the wicket to Warner. Interesting. 20 for 1. I'm not sure what England wants to do to Dave Warner. You've got Anderson going around and Curran going sort of across. So very different angles in play there. As he pushes that one through the onside for a single. Another tidy over from Anderson as Stuart Broad returns to the attack. Oh, and immediately Warner plays and misses at one. So pretty streaky stuff here from the Australian top order. Perhaps that's to be expected given the conditions. And they'll be facing an England side who probably feel as though that second test was theirs to lose, or rather, theirs to win at one stage. They looked like they could wrap it up on day 4, and in the end, 5 days wasn't long enough to secure a result. As Anderson continues yet another lengthy spell. Not a lot of carry, it must be said. You'd imagine that would suit the English bowlers just fine, at least compared to the Australian quicks. I say that meaning that the Australian quicks are more reliant on generating bounce, typically, as Warner gets that one away. Has that gone all the way? No. 1 bounce, 4. And he looks like he's keen to break the shackles a bit as we pass the first hour mark. Yeah, he's playing a few aggressive shots now, Dave Warner. Labuschagne content to defend. He knows what's at stake for him. 27 for 1. Oh, and Bairstow lets another one through. Gee, the English skipper will not be happy about that. Jos Buttler could be a shout to come into the side and take the gloves in the 4th test if Ollie Pope continues to not perform with the bat. Oh, and what a shot from Warner. Backs away. Almost a cut shot there. And he just looks as if he's starting to get a feel for the conditions, Dave Warner. Oh, and is that out? Surely not. No. It looked like Marnus there just didn't ground his bat. I don't know what he was thinking. It's international cricket, mate. Switch on. Warner pushes that one through the offside for a single. He seems to be scoring with relative ease now. Just starting to build some confidence. Work the ones. A couple of boundaries mixed in. Over a quarter of the runs so far have been extras though. England will only have themselves to blame for that, as we see the first of Ben Stokes on this opening morning of the 3rd Ashes Test. It's pretty cold today in Leeds, where we're playing. So I hope all of you YouTube viewers have brought blankets, maybe a doona. At the very least, wear some warm clothes, jumpers, raincoats, considering the weather today. Skies are pretty grey, it must be said. As Stokes gets off to a decent start, it's 38 for 1. Good to see Warner taking the singles where possible. Labuschagne is struggling a lot more to get the runs ticking over, and he's been struck on the pads. Clearly hitting outside the line. Umpire agrees. But even there, you can see the ball's doing a bit. Interesting to note. And Labuschagne still looking a bit shaky. He's 8 off 49. But the important thing is obviously that he's still there. The Australians wouldn't want Steve Smith and the informed Matty Wade exposed to these conditions as they are right now. Better to wait until hopefully day 2, when it should get a bit easier for the batsman. Warner confidently pulls that for 2. And he pushes that one through for a single. Ben Stokes, of course, the hero in the equivalent test match that occurred in real life at Headingley in the 2019 Ashes. As an Australian fan, that was a dark day. I don't like thinking about it, and I'm scared it'll do the same thing in this cricket captain series. As Warner drives confidently down the ground for 4. What a shot. He looks undeterred by the weather and by the English fast bowling. Like Labuschagne, he got off to a shaky start. Played and missed a couple, I think, but just recently, he looks like he's settling in very well. Good sign for the Australians. It's 47 for 1. Here's the wicket taker Sam Curran back into the attack. He has certainly been the most dangerous English bowler this series. He took a fifer in the first innings at Lords as the second test, as Warner gets 2. And again, flicks it off the pads, this time only for a single. But that brings up the 50 for Australia, for the loss of 1. So, again, in these conditions, I've got to be pretty happy with that. Warner especially has seen off the new ball to some extent. And Labuschagne plays that nicely, but just can't beat the fielder. It's been a while since he scored. Oh, and that's well wide. Does the umpire give it? Yep. Gee, and a full toss now as well. Stuart Broad all over the place. 52 for 1. As Curran continues to Warner, who drives that gently into the offside. Oh, and once again, Johnny Bairstow. These aren't even difficult takes. Just regulation keeping that's just not going well. So the extras helping Australia get along here in this first session. So we see some spin brought into the attack now. It's Moeen Ali in the first session of a test match in England, which you wouldn't normally see, I take it, but the fact is that it's a good pitch for spinners. More in it for the spinners than the quicks in terms of the pitch itself. Obviously the conditions heavily overcast favour the quick bowlers, and Labuschagne strokes that nicely through the point region for 4. So he'll be happy with that. Hopefully it builds some confidence for him after a pretty lean start to the Ashes series. Oh, and he drives through the onside now, and it beats the man in the deep. So 8 from that over. Labuschagne enjoying the spin of Moeen. And Warner plays that nicely as well, just for a single though. Oh, and Labuschagne pulls and pulls well. Again, it will just be a single. They've got a couple of men out there in the deep, maybe for the catch. That's how Joe Burns was dismissed, but Warner's having none of it. tucks that away through the onside for 4. And Australia, perhaps surprisingly after being sent in at the toss and losing the early wicket, now seem to have the momentum. It's 72 for 1 as Moeen continues to Marnus Labuschagne. I'm not sure why they have someone at third man. It would seem to me that they should be looking to take wickets as much as possible. Tossed up by Moeen, outside off. Labuschagne can't get it away. But he can nudge that through for a single. Maybe they should think about putting a short leg in to deter him from playing that sort of shot, easily rotating the strike. And that's just a pie. Warner perhaps unfortunate not to pick up a boundary there. 74 for 1 with 7 minutes to play in this first session. 5 minutes now. Time flies. So probably one more over after this for the English to get the breakthrough in the opening session. Nicely played by Warner. He's done well at finding the singles. Yep, this will be the last over of the opening session. It'll be Moeen to bowl. As Warner tries to flick it off his pads. Doesn't get very far with it. That's what he was trying to do. Nudges it for a single. And it is now Labuschagne on strike. Last 4 deliveries of the session. Pretty good line and length there from Moeen, making him play. Oh, and a nice sweep shot from Labuschagne. That is played delightfully. And they'll end up coming back for 3. The outfield, as I mentioned, is pretty slow, so we might be seeing a few of those 3s. Oh, and Warner probably didn't need to play that shot on the last ball of the session, but the fact is that he gets through. So overall, you'd say that's probably Australia's session, despite the loss of Burns early on. They're 79 for 1. Warner and Labuschagne getting off to good starts. And as we start the second session, rain has stopped play. How long will it last? The entire session. So that's T. We've just seen an entire session of play washed out. And again, third session. Are we going to see any more play on day 1? No. So that's been a really short episode of the Quarantine Cricket Championship because we've only had one session of cricket. I guess I don't need to take you through the scorecard again because not much has really happened. I would just note that Curran's the wicket taker and the partnership is 76 unbroken. So I guess I'll take this time to just reflect on whether England's decision to field first has been justified, and it still may be, but the fact is it stumps on day 1 and they've only taken 1 wicket. So if the pre-match predictions are correct, it's going to get a lot easier for batting on day 2 and 3 in terms of the conditions. But actually, I'll just see now how the pitch is looking. Yep, the same as day 1, so it hasn't gotten worse yet. And the weather is looking a lot better. So really, I'm very happy that I've batted first in this match. And England, well, let's make sure they regret it. That'll be it for this episode of the Quarantine Cricket Championship. I'm Brian Jackson, and I'll see you again next time for Day 2.